Um, are we, sir, heading to a video game crash?
Oh no,
I don't think so.
no.
But there's a ton of stuff happening this week when it comes to studios either closing or laying off a bunch of people. So there are some smaller studios, but we're gonna talk about Sony and EA. So Sony laid off around 900 total people that worked at their studios. They are closing London studio, and they are closing what was left of Studio Liverpool. The layoffs also affected Insomniac, Gorilla, and Naughty Dog. Um, okay, and I I don't want to sound the alarms because there's people out there sounding alarms. We've like Microsoft already went through layoffs. Like all the major companies are going through layoffs, right? What I think of the PlayStation stuff, right, is that this is the projects that Jim Ryan was wanting to have, and Jim Ryan and the other lady that left Sony recently.
Yeah.
These are the people that more than likely got hired to work on those projects, which were the games as a service uh, properties that they were working on. There's multiple canceled games. They have the only one that's been confirmed from the Sony side that I've heard of is the Twisted Metal games as a service that they were working on that was canceled. So it seems like they're refocusing, and that's why we're having this, right? Um, apparently, there's going to be layoffs in Japan too, but Japan they just can't get laid off. Like they'll probably put you on a basement until you quit. That's usually what they do. So they'll take away your email and they'll put you in your basement where you have no cell phone service. You have nothing to do until you quit. So that's usually how they operate. They don't really fire people in Japan. So unless you do like something like very very egregious, right? So we'll see how they handle that. But just talking about Sony right now, yeah, this I think this is the remnant of Jim Ryan's projects, and whatever they were working on, whatever those games as a service were, this is what this is. I think. Um,
Yeah.
that's why I don't want to sound the alarm. I mean, we've seen again like Microsoft has gone through a couple waves already. Xbox went through wave not too long ago. Um, and we've seen. I think I saw something on Threads. It was like it's so far this year. It's been like 8,100 gaming jobs that have been cut.
Wow.
So this is across the entire industry. Games are getting really expensive. Games are getting really hard to make. Um, just Harada from Namco was saying that between Tekken 7 and 8, they've almost doubled their budget, like from one game to the other. Um, GTA 6 is supposed to be like a 2 billion right now for their budget. So these things are getting out of control, right? Spider-Man had like a $250 million
Yeah.
budget or something. So something's got to give. Like I'm gonna ruffle some feathers with what I'm gonna say, and it is the unfortunate reality. We either start games should pricing in games should either come up substantially, or people should start expecting like things not to look as good, because that's what really is taking a long time. These graphics are getting more advanced. These things take a long time to get to work properly. And I think we should start getting comfortable with the idea of games being more money and you having to spend $100 on a game. And I say this not because I wanted to, but if you go back to the PS1 days and you paid $50 for, I don't know, Street Fighter Alpha, right? Um, and you pay $60 for Street Fighter 6, you know, how much the Street Fighter Alpha cost to make versus Street Fighter 6, and you're only charging a $10 more,
Yeah.
right? Like at some point, right? And that's when DLC comes in and it gets out of control with like Street Fighter being like $100 to get all the costumes. So hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta find other ways to make money, and it's unfortunate, right? And I know that, and people take a lot of dunks on Nintendo. Nintendo, like it's been in the news this week. They sued um, a Switch emulator maker, which
They sue
were
everybody.
monetizing. Well, they were monetizing their emulator, right? And because of this
Yeah.
emulator, like allegedly a million downloads of Tears of the Kingdom happened before the game was released. Heck yeah, man! Nintendo, you can go ahead and sue the heck out of them. Yeah, these guys are disrupting. They're not disrupting the industry. They're stealing money, right? This is
Yep.
intellectual property that you're mishandling. So, um, I know I'm gonna catch some flack from people out there, but it is the unfortunate reality of it, right? Um, things are gonna take a long time. Things are gonna have DLC, um, and we they should, I know the industry has been really cautious on their pricing, and that's why we see so much DLC, and DLC not being $10 like it was back in the day. Like now, I think the DLC for Elden Ring is $40, and right, I would pay 60 for it. Like, but that's just me, right? Um, that said, if you try to sell me a half bake, you know, you pay for the content, right? If you're selling me a 4 hour half baked game for $80, then I'm not gonna buy it, right? You gotta make your money make sense. Um, yeah, a fighting game, yeah, an FPS, things that you can get longevity off out of. Yeah, you can just sell for the premium, right? Um, but it's unfortunate to see like Sega selling the Sonic Superstars as a $60 game, like the same week as freaking Mario Wonder came out, and get destroyed in sales because not because your game is not good. I don't want to say that, right? I don't want to. I haven't played Superstars. I heard it's an okay game, but you cannot pretend to like if you give me two games right now, right? If you give me, I don't know, let's see, a high budget Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, right? You give me that game, and the game's $70 base, and then you come out with I don't know, a smaller adventure game that's like a 10-hour game that has low replay value, but it's still a good game, and you're trying to charge 80 for it, then there's a disparity there. And your game is using pixel graphics, and you see where I'm coming from, right?
Yep.
It's like it's like cars. Not every car is made equal. It's like
No.
you can buy. Hey, you know what? You can buy a Toyota, and it's gonna get you to point A to point B, and it's gonna work great, and it's gonna be fine for you and for your needs, right? But you cannot expect that Toyota to do Ferrari uh, speeds, and that's where we're at when it comes to gaming, right? It's like a lot of people are charging Ferrari prices for Toyotas,
Wow.
and that's a problem. So the industry needs a shakeup when it comes to pricing. I think that a lot of the more recent indie stuff, like the TMNT games, some of the collections have been fairly priced. I say like dude, like Shredder's Revenge and Streets of Rage 4 are steals. Like those games are excellent games, smaller games. They're $30 or $20, and you can have hours and hours of fun, and they're great, right? But could you imagine if, like, oh yeah, we're doing Shredder's Revenge is gonna be $80, and there's gonna be a $20 DLC on top of that? No, guys, come on, right? I paid for the DLC for Shredder's Revenge. It's like, because it's a product that I want to support. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Before we go into EA, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't have too deep of a thoughts on how to fix this and to stop this. I just what hits me is just the fact that like what you just said is, this is a world, this is a across the industry type of thing. I would go even farther. Like we're seeing not even just this industry, but other industries having some major hits coming into this year, some major shakeups of things that, sometimes you could just glance over in the news if you're not paying too much attention, be like, so this place just cut X amount of jobs and
Right,
and budgets and what have you. And it's like, forget everything else. People just lost their jobs, okay?
right,
Like people just lost a source of income. People just lost something that maybe they were committed to and wanted to grow in and be there for a long time. Like that's a very serious thing that I don't
a
want to
lot of
stop
people
and not
too
make light of. A lot of
so
people
far this year. Yeah,
so far this year. So like for that reason, like I'm very sad. I'm very sad to hear that. And my heart goes out to these people, and I really hope that they're able to get back on their feet well, and a good, great opportunities come their way quickly, so they're able to be in the industry that they want to be in and doing work that they enjoy and paid well and doing good, all that good stuff. And with that also comes the state just having to make the statement that this is not an American thing. This is a worldwide thing. These studios are in London and you're seeing them get shut down. You're just not, just like, okay, video games are collapsing and everything else is fine. That's not true. There are many industries right now who are starting to see these same types of effects. And so for that reason, like it's like the everything's fine and the house is on fire behind you meme. That's how it feels like with sometimes when you're seeing, people trying to brush this stuff over. I don't care if you're a fan of PlayStation. I don't care if you're a friend of Nintendo. I don't care if you're a fan of Microsoft. This is not normal to see these large amounts of people
right.
getting laid off. And I think what you proposed though, Bet, about considering price points, considering budgets, and considering the effects, and I love how you eloquently said about not all games being made equal. That's another part of it. Just because we're saying that maybe some games maybe need to have a price change doesn't mean that some of these other games need to be being charged the same types of premiums. It's just like you could be naive and think that the industry is doing great just because your favorite games are selling good or having tons of views on trailers and whatnot. But some of these smaller first party games and stuff, like you're gonna get stories like this, and it's a sign of, hey, read the room. This may not be the way that you're operating is not going to be sustainable for the long term. And I don't want some people to lose their jobs because of not a better change in strategy. So I can only hope from here on out, the whatever intel that's being made, there's some of those decisions, like you're saying, to be consider some innovative changes, some things that have not been
Yeah,
considered before, wouldn't be open to saying before, in order to have the industry still survive and thrive at the end.
yeah. Um, I think, like, and it's unfortunate, right? It's been, what, like I said, it's like 8,100 people so far this year. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's concerning, and there's a trend. Just moving into EA, right? 670 people lost their jobs at EA.
Yeah.
The Star Wars first person game that Respawn was working on canceled.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yep.
allegedly was a Mandalorian game that we talked about, I think, last week or the week before.
Yep.
That's not, yeah, I guess it's not happening. Um, yeah, it's happening. It's happening everywhere now. Now EA is committed to making um, the a third Call Kestis game. That's great. And I know that Sony's committed on making their own thing. I think that a lot of these jobs are gonna get streamlined. EA is gonna, I'm sorry, not EA. AI is going to be a more uh, prevalent force in the industry. Um, but when it comes to if the industry wants to continue growing, and I know that there's every once in a while you'll get your Call of Duties and your Fortnites and your games that are gonna keep going and going and going and growing. But you know, some companies don't have that, and they have to put out multiple games a year and commit to schedules, and it's hard, right? And I know,
Yeah.
and I know, and I'm not a developer. Like, I went to school to be a developer. I didn't go through with it because I saw the brick wall in front of me, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I recognized it early enough where I didn't crash against that wall. It's not easy, guys. Like, you guys, and I know
Yep.
it's real
Yep.
easy to be behind your computer and just point fingers and
Yep.
tell and say that developers are lazy, and say that you would have done something else because you probably have no clue what you're talking about.
Pretty
Right.
much. Yep.
And I you know I don't, even if you even if you're a small developer, even if you're a small studio, even if you're a one man team, like there's like the guy that made Axiom Verge, I'm not gonna criticize you because your product's out there and you
It's
made it
true.
happen.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, it doesn't matter how big or how small your studio is. Your game comes out and it's playable. Props. I'm not,
Yeah.
and it's good. Props. Like, one thing is to have a good game, and one thing is to throw out there like big rigs and right to hell retribution, all this garbage, right?
Yeah.
But if your game's out there and you made it and your game's good, you know what? I'm not gonna try. I'm gonna talk trash about you or your game. Like, I don't, and like I just to wrap it up, because I can go on for hours talking about this topic. We I used to dunk a lot on Phil Fish. I don't think Phil Fish was the most eloquent or the considerate. Uh, he was quite infamous out there. And I disagree with a lot of the points that he made out there. But you cannot deny that Fez is a great game.
Oh, come on. Absolutely.
And you may not like the guy, right?
But
The
the
guy, and he
creation.
he quit the industry because people hated on him, and rightfully so. Like, I was one of them. like
Oh,
I've
yeah.
like I've outgrown that phase of my life, right? But I was very vocal when it came to criticizing him. But you cannot deny it. Like I can criticize you on like stuff you think about and like personal stuff, right? But you made your game, dude. I
Absolutely.
respect you for that. But you know, and we need to grow up. This is a conversation. You know what we should do, Joel? We should plan a special like gaming episode
It'd be good.
and just
Yeah.
go ham on this thing.
Yep.
We should do
I'd
that.
love to. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we can talk about it. I can talk about it for hours, dude. Like, I love this thing, and something that I'm very passionate for, and I have great ideas. I know that they're not great, but I don't pretend Microsoft to send me an email before they make choices like some of the other people out there.
Oh,
But to fix the problems, you gotta make drastic changes, and sometimes we as the fans need to be receptive to some of these
yeah.
changes. So we'll see what happens, man.